All right, Orange fans, welcome to the Domed In Pod. We're here with you, and I'll hold hands and get through this together. Uh, tough, tough game. Not much else to say besides that. You know how these episodes go. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do our game flow review. We'll get into some banter. We'll talk about some topics. Then we're gonna do some key plays, which yikes. We'll do our 3 stars. We really went through the lineup to find three, but we found them. And then finally, we're going to do a media availability roundup of just what some people were saying after the game. But again, this was a tough, tough game to watch. Tough, tough afternoon for the Orange fans. In an afternoon to have where the slate was electric, this was just a terrible way to start.
100%, dude. I mean, this was a turn it off game pretty early in the afternoon. Uh, this was a complete disaster, just an absolute disaster of a performance from the Orange today. I mean, this is definition of a week to week sport, right? Like the highs of last week and the ultimate lows of this week. Uh, it doesn't get any worse than this, man. We got bullied and completely dominated at home on Parents' Weekend, sold out crowd. The team just laid a complete egg and no show across the board. It was about as bad as it can possibly get for a football team yesterday.
You're watching Domed In Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe.
All right, let's get into the game flow review. We start with the ball in this game, and Ricky actually starts throwing the ball down the field. It looks good. We're driving, and then his arm gets hit when he's going back, and he throws kind of a terrible interception. I didn't love that play where he throws that first interception. It seems like that was like a one route play, and it was 1-on-2 for the defender, and he just kind of threw it, and unfortunately he got hit, but we didn't protect him great, and that was an example of that right away. The defense actually does a really good job. So, this is the last compliment I'm going to give any part of the defense for this game, but they do a really great job holding Duke here to just a field goal. And Duke kind of does it to themselves a little bit. But there was a moment here where Duke takes a OPI penalty and it's like 1st and 25. And we immediately give them a first down and they drive down and get a field goal. And it was like that was emblematic of how the game was going to go. Duke shoots themselves in the foot and then we open the door for them. We drive them to the hospital. I don't know what was happening, but it wasn't good. So they go up 3-0. Syracuse then does a great job responding. We give the ball to Willis, who we remember we have on our team for one drive, right? For one drive, we remember we have this guy Willis who's a absolute beast, and we're like, oh, let's give him the ball. He gets us down inside the 5. Unfortunately, we're not able to capitalize and punch it in from there. Happens. We go 3-3. We then kick the ball off, and this was one of the more frustrating drives to me. We get them to a 3rd and 5. We come out in a defensive scheme that makes absolutely no sense, where we're two guys on the right side of the field for the Duke offense, and we're giving Barkade about a 20-yard cushion because Kerr doesn't want to get beat over the top for a guy who runs short intermediate routes, and Barkade is wide open for an 18-yard completion down the sideline where he's able to make like a catch, grab a coffee, and step out of bounds. We're not on the line. Kerr is literally 15 yards off the line on 3rd and 5. If you look at the screen, which we'll see in the film review, he's not even in the picture, and it's 3rd and 5. If they had just thrown a quick screen, they would have gotten it. They could have had anything they wanted this whole game. And then, okay, you give that up, but how do you respond to that? The defense doesn't get set, and Nate Shepard, who the guy that they're saying they're going to give the ball to a bunch in this game, and apparently we had no idea who he was because we didn't do any pre-scouting at all, gets a 50-yard run into the end zone, waltzes into the end zone. He could have ran backwards into the end zone on that play. So just overall, that was pretty emblematic start of how this game was going to go. You just don't play any defense. Your team doesn't really move the ball out. I mean, your team moves the ball but can't capitalize, and then you immediately give stuff up. So then down 10-3, we get the ball, and we are driving. Ricky throws a great pass to Jonte, and Jonte gets absolutely obliterated. First of all, Jonte, just go down. You've got the first down there. Just go down. But he gets absolutely obliterated. He kind of gets held up by a defender. This is like the most frustrating ACC decision making that I can remember. It's called targeting on the field. It's at the very least unnecessary roughness. They're holding him up. They hit him straight in the head when he's not going anywhere. So they say he's a runner, but he's not really running anywhere. He's literally just holding the ball from having caught it, gets his head absolutely obliterated. By the way, college football, if this is not targeting, I don't know what is. They are intentionally hitting a guy in the head where you're going to probably injure him. You could break somebody's neck doing this. If this isn't targeting, then what do we have this rule in the book for?
Totally.
So that leads to...
It looked like a pro wrestling move. He just came in, forearm to his helmet. Like, what are we protecting?
And you see Jonte's head goes like this.
Yeah.
This is how you break guys' neck. This is how you give guys concussions. If we're not protecting guys in this moment, then what are we protecting for? Because I've seen a lot of bullshit targeting go on. I've seen a lot of real targeting go on, and I can never tell you which is which. But either way, that was crazy. And then it's deemed a fumble, and there's no targeting, and it goes from being a great completion plus targeting to no completion, a fumble, and just Duke gets the ball. And that's where the game ends. The defense unravels on the next drive, which, that's a lot about momentum, and that's hard when you're with these college kids, and the fans are kind of completely shocked. We're shocked at home watching it. It's a 10-3 game. You think you're driving down to tie the game, and all of a sudden Duke 3 plays later is in the end zone. And from there it was kind of over, right? From there it just nothing else worked. We basically go 3 and out with 7 plays, and Duke scores a touchdown. Then we go 3 and out. Duke gets the ball again before the end of half. Fran calls a mysteriously dumb timeout, like one of the stupidest coaching decisions I've seen in a long time, like a terrible coaching decision to call a timeout and give the other team more chances to go get a field goal. Luckily, they missed that field goal. It's 24-3 at half. Now, for all of my Orange siblings here who decided to turn the game off and not watch the second half, congratulations to you. I wish I had turned the game off and gone and spent the afternoon with my son, because there was a nice window there before the 3:30 slate started where I could have hung out with my little dog, have a good time with my man. We could have played in the backyard, done some bubbles, all that kind of stuff, and not watched this disaster of a second half. But we did watch the second half so we could come here and give it to you guys and give you a full balanced perspective. And the second half kind of starts exactly how the first half ended. Duke goes 3 and out, so good job by the defense here to get us the ball. Ricky throws a beautiful ball to Jonte, who just fumbles it. And, I've heard Fran talk a lot about being a Sunday player for Jonte, and, if he does the right things, he could be in the NFL in 8 months. I don't see it. Can't fumble twice in a game like this. Can't have a big drop that he had in this game, and that you're just not going to play on Sundays if you're giving efforts like this. So I didn't love that. It was his second fumble of the game. Duke then, right after we fumble, again, we've talked a lot about it, but Antoine Delorier, in a game where there was not a lot of good going on, makes a big play here to get a sack, a 15-yard loss for Duke, and that helps us get the ball back. So the defense twice in a row gives us the ball back. We then can't do anything on offense. We punt the ball. They go down and score a touchdown. We drive down the field, get stopped on 4th down. They come down, score a touchdown. We punt the ball. They punt the ball. We go down the field, and we try to score at the end of the game. We don't, which was an absolute disaster. We're calling a timeout with 4 seconds left to try to score, and we can't even punch the ball in.
It was ugly. It was ugly all the way through. And I think, like you said, Duke took their foot off the gas in this second half. This could have been easily a 50-point burger on our heads at home, to be honest with you. There was no resistance in this game, really, at all. We're talking 500 yards of offense in this game from Duke. Pretty much 8 yards of play. It was over 8 yards of play well into the fourth quarter, pretty much until they put their full backup unit in. This was just a beatdown that, I think was shocking to us, to Orange Nation after last week. They were barking at us like dogs on the sideline, and
That was so embarrassing.
We did
Oh,
nothing about it. We did nothing about it. We said, "Thank you, sir."
yeah.
Basically, like we got dog.
They hit our quarterback late 100 times.
How many times are we gonna let them hit Ricky late?
We did nothing. We did nothing about it. The NY tough that Fran talks about. Where was it yesterday? We let little old Duke came in and bullied us. They bullied us yesterday. That was pathetic.
Dude, and I don't know. I know we were going back and forth. We talked a lot right after the game. This thing was off the rails from the opening kickoff, dude. The opening kickoff, it immediately looked in disarray. Like Hart doesn't really seem to know what he's doing on the kickoff there. It bounces into the end zone. He bizarrely takes it out. We start at the 10-yard line with the backup quarterback. It's just exactly what we talked about not doing to start this game. I'm not really sure why Hart is in on kick returns. That's something
and it wasn't the only time either, right? He looked lost in the kick returns. So let's jump right into that. That's a great point, Tab, right? So we talked about this, and there's a few things that we talked about in the pregame show that I want to, address because we directly didn't address any of them. And that's the first one. We said it against Clemson. How do you make sure a struggling offense doesn't, get confidence and beat you? You don't let them get good field position. And we said it for us. You have a backup quarterback coming in. What can you do to help him? You can give him good field position. You can help him by giving him shorter fields, get him some confidence. What do we do on the opening kickoff? We start inside our 15. We do that a second time. Hart did that another time we start in the 15. Kerr, who, by the way, I don't want to get too much into Kerr returning punts because I think he's been really, really good. I think him and Samuel have been really good, and Peel have been really good this season. So I don't want to bury him because I think he's been really, really good. But fair catching at the 5, it can't happen. It can't happen. So you start inside the 5, you start inside the 15 on kick returns. You're just not helping your guy here.
Not at all. And just for us to just come out of the gates doing that, when he turned to run that ball out on the opening kickoff, all I believe was, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Perplexed.
What are you doing?
I think we had a phone call right after that, and your immediate reaction was get him off kickoffs.
I was like, I couldn't believe he was out there a second time, and then it happened basically again. I couldn't believe what I was watching to start that game. And honestly, Ricky looked good still to start the game. We got in rhythm to start this game. Like you said, I didn't love that play call either. It wasn't. I sort of understood it because it was basically a non-read play. Like, you are to throw this post over the top. There's one route on this play. If he's not that open, just throw it where he can't catch it. It's unfortunate he gets his arm hit. I actually don't. I don't. It's whatever. We've talked about not being upset with us making interceptions, trying to get the ball downfield. That's an acceptable play to me. Not a huge deal there.
That interception also doesn't kill you, right?
No.
You throw it, it's an interception that they get at their own 20. They start with the ball the 35 or the 40, and our defense is able to hold them to a field goal. So all in all, that interception doesn't kill you in this game.
No. And honestly, the second drive, we looked good again. The ball was moving. Ricky's finding guys in the middle of the field.
It was apparently the only drive we knew Willis was on the team.
We're looking good, and it just, from that point on, the game completely unraveled. And it was basically just we did half as much to ourselves as Duke did to us. In this game, actually, I take that back. Duke did demolish us, but Syracuse just did nothing to help themselves the entire game.
Well, you're not wrong, because early in the game, Duke did try to shoot themselves in the foot.
They did.
Right? Even on that first drive, they have an OPI, and they're 1st and 25.
Totally.
What do? We then let them get a 25-yard route where they take their small little scat back, Brown, who we talked about, Keyshawn Brown, and we match him up one-on-one against Delorier in the slot.
It's a mismatch before the ball is snapped. Mensa
can't happen.
Yeah. It can't happen. Mensa knew exactly where he's going with that, the moment they lined up. And it's just easy. And we can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, dude.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we'll we hear it from Fran in the press conference around. They knew what was coming and yada yada yada. Every team has known what is coming from us. This is not new. This is not a new scheme. This has been an issue for a year and a half now. This isn't new. We don't confuse anybody, and honestly, we make it easy. we make it easy. Like, and there's just no other way to put it other than our defense is not disruptive, and
the coaching's not good enough.
No, it's not.
I mean, that's it. That because you're saying it right. Like, we don't fool anybody on defense. When was the last time we were like, "Whoa, that was a great play call. We really fooled them. They didn't see that coming."
Totally. I mean, and like you're saying, dude, like Duke had 9 penalties for 105 yards in this game. The majority of those were on offense, I believe. Like,
yep,
that included at least a few OPIs and intentional grounding. Like, that was really the only way we stopped them in this game, was them taking 15-yard penalties. And half the times it still didn't disrupt them a whole lot. Like,
I mean, so you're talking about that. Then they go down on that drive and they get down to the red zone and they take another OPI, a very obvious OPI where the guy's blocking downfield.
Yeah.
And it's 3rd and 25 from the 30-yard. It's 3rd and 30. It's 3rd and goal from the 30-yard line, right? We let them get to the 4-yard line.
Yeah.
I think if Duke goes for it from there, they were going to get it. They're going to run the ball up the middle.
It basically took Deuce, again, just trying to clean up a mess to save a touchdown at the end of that play. I don't really know where to go on the defense other than the coaching and the scheme just needs to be better. It needs to be better. And until we're honest about the situation and how, frankly, inept our defense looks at times, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. And we're relying basically on elite quarterback play to win games, which is not sustainable. Like, and particularly when you've obviously got a kid making his first start, it's just a ridiculous expectation to put at his feet. And I feel bad, honestly. I think the team really let Ricky down yesterday. Before
we get more into Ricky, though, one of the things is, you're talking about the defense, you're talking about the scheme. We've been talking about this, which is, it's not a new problem, but one of the things that's been an issue for us is the idea that we can't get lined up properly on defense. And you saw it with that 3rd down. They get a 1st down, and they had a 50-yard run. We didn't line up against Colgate. It was a similar thing. They got a 1st down on a 3rd and 11. We didn't line up properly, and then we're just completely out of position.
I mean, maybe we do need to fake injuries to line up properly. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, seriously, any team that runs tempo and runs an outside run against us is going untouched for 20 yards, basically.
Every time.
It's crazy. And like, I know, we've talked about it. Look, football's a week-to-week sport, right? And there's the highs of last week and the lows of this week. And I do trust that Fran is going to get the boys prepared and ready to play better next week. But this was a huge letdown, man, a massive letdown. And I just, like you said, there's just glaring things week to week that we know are problems, and they don't appear to be getting addressed, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But there's also things even on the offensive side too that I feel like are frustrating, and I think there's a big one.
Yeah. Well, let's then jump into, because it's that's a thing that I want to focus on. I agree with you. It's just one game. Let's not get too high after Clemson and too low after Duke. It's a long season. This just counts as one loss. You can get beat as bad as you want. It's still just one loss. That's key. Now, we've talked a lot about Fran, and the one thing I do think is he's good at getting our guys to respond. He's got a great culture that he's built, and he's good at getting our guys to respond. And when we're going to go negative here, the things that we're going to get negative on and focus on are things that we've talked about that we know have been problems that seem to continue to be problems. And one of the things is like pre-scouting in a game plan. These are things that we need to be better at, and we haven't gotten better at. So let's jump into a few things that we had talked about. One of the things that we had talked about in pre-scouting, as you mentioned earlier, was like starting with the ball in a good position, right? Another one of the things that we had talked about in pre-scouting is when Duke is successful, what do? They run the ball really well, and they set up their play action, because Mensah is a very good play action quarterback when he can get guys, biting in on that running game and throwing it to receivers. And they were able to run the ball. Nate Shepherd had 170 yards rushing against us. So one of the keys to the game was, let's shut down Nate Shepherd. We didn't do that. The other key was, once they do pass the ball, let's shut down Barkgate because he's really the guy they look for. 72 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was open anytime they wanted him to be open. They just had other guys running wide open too. So Mensa kind of had his choice. Like, it's nuts. I mean, how many runs yesterday, though, did Shepard or Castle, 8-9 yards downfield before they're even touched?
Too many.
I mean, it was a lot. It was probably half.
So in total, they had 236 rush yards, and that counts four rushes by Mensa for minus 22, which basically is the one Antoine Delorier sack in there. And if you take those 22 yards out, they had over 250 yards rushing against us. So key number one, stop the rush. Clearly, there was no emphasis on that because we could not do that. We had no plan to do that. We couldn't set an edge on the outside, which we talked about. We talked about if Clemson had just kept running that bullshit flip play to Adam Randall the whole game, they probably would have beat us.
250 yards rushing.
They did that, right? And then on the other side, they were able to just throw the ball to Barkgate anytime they wanted. We didn't shut that down. And then they also got Keyshawn Brown involved. And again, what did we talk about? He's a good little scat back. We can't let him get open over the middle. We're guarding him with Antoine Delorier. We're just putting Antoine in a horrible spot.
Just awful. It's just horrible schemes. I don't even know what to assess from the defense. It was bad everywhere yesterday. And I think you made a really good point. I don't know if you want to get into it now, just around when the whole team looks bad, whose fault is that,
Yeah, but the whole team looks bad. We know they're all not bad players. We've seen a lot of them play really well this year. So if the whole team looks bad, they look disorganized, they're not lined up, it's just purely coaching. And he said it. Fran said it. He said he was outcoached. But, that starts to fall on deaf ears the more and more he keeps saying I'm outcoached. And we can't keep having these mistakes that are very identifiable pregame that we then don't take advantage of because me and you are just fans, right? Like we don't have any inside knowledge. We don't have any inside knowledge of the program. We don't have any tape that we scout. We watch a lot of college football and we say, hey, here's what we're seeing with Duke. So we're not diving into Duke in any way that is any more special than, college football junkies who watch a lot of college football on Saturdays, right? Like once Syracuse is done, me and you were texting, we're chatting about all the other games that are going on, and that's how we do our pre-scouting. And we could tell you the same thing about Duke that we could tell you about Ole Miss or LSU, just because we watch these games, right? And so the other thing is, I don't just want to go all defense and not bury the offense too, because the offense only had 3 points. And yes, Ricky was not fantastic in this game, but it was his first college start. We have to do better helping him. And what is one of the things we said in the pre-scouting? What does Duke struggle against? They struggle against the run. They struggle against the run. They gave up huge rushing yards to Elon, to Illinois, to Tulane. What does Syracuse do? We come out and we give Willis 11 touches in the running game.
Yeah, he didn't get featured enough, and I understand to a bit that some of this game got game flowed out at a certain point, but we didn't set the presence that we wanted in this game. And I don't know how many times we can say it in the press conference after the game, like he needs the ball. We need to get him the ball. Our best drive in this game was him, largely Willis, huge hole in the middle of the field. He put that foot in the ground, and now he's hurdling guys 20 yards downfield, and we just never really made Duke feel us again after that point.
11 carries for 63 yards.
Yeah, I think we're tired of making this point. Like, he needs the ball. And I do love Coach Nixon, and I actually think that early in the game, the scheme wasn't horrible. I thought actually we were doing a lot of things to get Ricky in good spots where he's comfortable, quick throws over the middle of the field, and then the game just kind of got away with some unfortunate stuff. But let's make it a little easier for him on this. The other thing, not even just limited to Willis and him getting the ball, the offensive line did not play well yesterday.
We can get into that. But just 1 second on what we were talking about with Willis. So I hear you on the scheme of Nixon, and overall we really like Nixon. And I said this in the preview show that he's going to get better at coaching for Ricky, right? Like he's got to adjust to Ricky, and that's going to take time, and I get all that. But you know what I didn't love, and we talked about it, was that play where Ricky threw the interception. That's 1st and 10 where you're putting him in a spot where he's got a one route read and he's throwing it down the field. You already did that and it worked on the first play, and I love that. I think we talked about that pregame. Let's come out and throw a deep shot right away. We did it. It worked. Congratulations. That's great. We got Ricky happy. Now it's 1st and 10 at midfield. Give the ball to Willis.
Let's ease this game down a little bit, right? Because we didn't want to play. I mean, like to your point, we didn't need to play a 38-35 game in this. Or ideally, like for us to win this game, this wasn't going to be a shootout. Clearly, that wasn't in the cards regardless because we weren't stopping anything. But I totally agree with you. It just wasn't a necessary call there. It really should have been a running play or something very conservative.
No, it should just be a running play to Willis. There's it could be, no. 1st and 10 at midfield after you're having a really nice drive and you have a kid making his first collegiate start, and you know that the other team struggles at stopping the run, and you have an awesome running back. It just has to be in his hands. We took the game out of Willis's hands. I don't want to give this whole like, oh, the game flow got away from us. We took the game out of Willis's hands by not giving him the ball enough.
I do agree on that drive in particular. There were subsequent drives where I understood why he didn't touch it because we took penalties. Like even the Jonte fumble was, I think, a 1st and 20 play. The next drive we take an OPI. Just like we got behind game flow. But I agree early, we needed to assert him more because that was what we were going to need to do in this game. It was frustrating. Yeah, like it's either got to be a run play or a screen or something to get him the ball. I don't care what it is, just the ball needs to find him early in the game, you know?
I just, to me, those 1 or 2 plays that you don't, that are the big mistakes, those plays do compound as you go through the game, and not giving him the ball there early sets up a precedent that we're not getting him the ball. And I totally agree with you. Yes, some of that was game flow. We did it to ourselves with penalties and the Jonte fumble, but there just wasn't enough, in my opinion. And it starts on that first drive. It's like that first drive was very emblematic of how this game was going to go.
Well, too, dude. And again, we like Will Nixon. And look, the first couple plays were kind of throwing plays. Willis wasn't in the first 4 or 5 plays of the game again. Like, why do we keep doing that? Why does he not, like, can we please start the game with him on the field? Like, I know it seems like a trivial ask, but it's really not. Like, I want him to touch the ball in the first 4 plays of the game. Like, let's just stop playing fucking games. Like, they know who he is in the scouting report, you know? When he comes in the game, they've got an eye on him. He's huge. They know exactly who he is. Like, let's stop playing games with when we're putting him in the football game.
Yeah. And so I really, it's week 5 now. We're going into week 6. I don't want to hear Fran say another time we didn't get Willis the ball enough. We need to give him the ball more. I don't care if we're down 38-3. I don't care if it's 24-3 at half. Give him the ball 15 times in the second half.
Yeah.
You giving Willis the ball 11 times when he's averaging 6 yards a carry, and you've got a first-time college starter in there. Like, take Ricky out of it. I don't care who was in there. If it was Luke Carney, if it was Rich Bellin, if it was Jakari Williams, if it was Ricky Collins, you have a first-time starter in the game. Give your big-time, top-tier, elite running back the ball more than 11 times, especially when he's averaging 6 yards a carry. It wasn't like he was struggling.
It's very simple. Yeah, it's just it's frustrating, and I don't really understand why we can't just get him the rock and assert him as a presence in these games. It's frustrating.
All right, I think it's time to jump into Ricky real quick. I think it's time to have a discussion. I'll start it off. A lot of what we've talked about today is basically we didn't put Ricky in a good situation at all, right? So I hear the fans that are upset saying he doesn't have it, and that's fine. You can come away with that after this game if that's what you think. But personally for me, the way I like to think about college football is it's not a you don't have it or you do have it, especially when you're making your first start. We've seen a lot of really good quarterbacks kind of struggle and get better in college, and that is the nature of college football. I mean, even Angeli, if you look at some of the stuff he was doing versus Tennessee, and then the way he was playing in the Clemson game before he got injured, he made so much improvement in those 4 games, and that's just natural in college. You're going to get more comfortable, you're going to get better, and in that first, in those first games, can your team and can your coaches put you in positions to succeed, right? Look at Arch Manning. Look at some of the wonderful freshmen we've seen around the country, from Underwood to Sayin. A lot of these guys. How much better do they get? We look at some of the best quarterbacks and the teams that win, the last few years. Look at who they have as their quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel's a guy I'm thinking of. Cam Ward's a guy I'm thinking of. Will Howard's a guy I'm thinking of. These guys have played a lot of college football, and they get better and better and better. Like, I think about NC State and how much better, like, CJ Bailey has gotten. That's because he had a bunch of games last year where at times he didn't look great. And even times this year he's not looking phenomenal, but he's continuing to grow. And I think you see that from a lot of college quarterbacks, right? It might not start great, but over time they're going to become more and more successful. We didn't give Ricky any kind of chance in that game. We didn't give him any help in that game. He really struggled, but it wasn't even really a lot of on him. It was just the offensive line didn't block for him. We only handed the ball to Willis 11 times despite him being really good. Like, all over the place, we were a mess. And I don't even think if we had Steve in this game, it saves us.
No, I mean, I made the joke, like, we would have needed Louisville Lamar Jackson to win this game, honestly, or to have a chance to win this game with how we showed up as a unit, just as a collective football team. Like, I said it earlier, I felt bad for Ricky at the end of this game. Like, the team honestly let him down. The team, the staff, it was not a good effort to support a guy making his first college start. It was disappointing from the opening kickoff, like we talked about. It was an immediate bungle from the team, the staff, like, just not preparation. I found it really hard to assess him yesterday, to be honest with you. We were such a mess. I don't know how you can make a sweeping assessment on Ricky from yesterday. Like, yeah, I think there were things that weren't great. I think he had some happy feet in the pocket. He missed a couple throws, or he made some plays where it's like, yeah, you need that to be better moving forward. But again, it's a guy making his first start. The offensive line was bad yesterday. I mean, how many times were there guys landing at his feet or pushing back into him as he's making throws? They did not do a good job yesterday. It was, I think, the worst game our offensive line has played maybe this year, except maybe Tennessee, when we just blew a million assignments in that game.
But that was more about Tennessee being an elite defensive line, I think, honestly.
Totally. And so, like, I really do find it hard to bash Ricky after this game. Like, just looking holistically at what happened. I think there were some interesting things in the first quarter and a half where it was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that we can keep from, the Angeli portion of this season, right? Where there's some quick throws over the middle. He had a good rapport with Jonte, it felt like. It was a couple nice throws to Gill. Like, we had mixing in the running game. Like, that first quarter and a half, the offense was okay. It was actually fine kind of up until the Jonte fumble, and then it was completely off the rails from there.
Yeah, it did feel like that Jonte fumble changed things. Before that, I thought Ricky was moving the ball well.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the execution from him did leave something to be desired. But again, I want to focus on the fact that it was his first start and we didn't do anything to help him. The other thing, you mentioned it, he was doing at a certain point in that game, he got into that throwing fadeaway stuff. And a lot of that was just because he kept getting hit late, and we didn't do anything about it. This kid's starting his first game, and Manny Diaz smartly, but kind of like a dick, honestly, was like, let's just pound this kid even if he throws the ball. They took a couple roughing the passer penalties to kind of send a message. What did we do? Did we hit anybody? No, we let them bark like dogs on the sideline.
Totally. I mean, we just looked shell-shocked, dude. We did. Yeah, there was very little help given to Ricky in this game, and they were basically asking him to go with how the rest of the team show up. They're like, we need you to be a Heisman Trophy candidate to win this game, is essentially the performance they needed from him. And obviously it didn't happen. Like, it wasn't anywhere near that.
But Duke scored 38 only because they wanted to stop scoring at a certain point.
Correct.
That second half, they barely tried. I mean, Duke was going 50% in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we barely made the break a sweat all game.
All right, so that was kind of our game flow, kind of game recap in a way. We're going to go ahead and we're going to just jump into key plays. We've already talked about most of them, so we're going to do them quick. The first one is obvious. It's the first interception in this game, and that's one. Again, we're not critical really of these throwing interceptions when you're trying to move the ball down the field. That's going to happen. I actually think it's worse if you're in an offense that throws no interceptions, because that to me tells me you're not really trying to move the ball down the field. Every quarterback throws interceptions, and they're not the worst thing. And Jelly threw them. We weren't mad at him, and we're not going to be mad at Ricky for throwing them. The ones we don't like are like the Angeli one where he threw like a screen pass when he got it deflected up. Those ones we can't have. But the throwing the interception, trying to throw it down the field when your arm gets hit, that's going to happen occasionally. What I didn't like from that is I feel like that was a spot to get Willis the ball there,
moving the ball down the field and getting in scoring position. So,
but I mean that drive is pretty emblematic, right? If we just go through that drive real quick, the first play we talked about, let's get Ricky a downfield shot. By the way, first of all, you return the kickoff to the 11, so you're giving up 15 yards immediately, right?
Yeah.
Then Ricky throws a beautiful ball down the sideline to Jonte. He makes a great catch, and you get a 15-yard personal foul, right? So it was a 20-yard pass plus a 15-yard penalty. If you're starting at your own 25, you're now at the other team's 40.
Yeah.
Right? Then you get Willis for 6 yards. Then you get Jonte for 14 yards. So that's another 20 yards. Now you're in the red zone if you just don't bungle the kickoff. So again, this is an example of how you don't set Ricky up for success, because now you're only at the 40 when you throw the interception. Whereas if you're at the 20 here, now it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to touch on is, you notice what I've said here? I said pass. I said run with Will Nilsson. I said pass. I said who have we not talked about?
Big boy. Yeah.
Willis doesn't touch the ball on the first drive. Can't happen. That's coaching malpractice.
Yeah.
You're the head coach. It's your job. I don't want to hear you say one more word in the press conference about we need to get him the ball more in the game. You didn't give him the ball in the first drive with a guy who's making his first collegiate start when you're having, a really strong start to the drive. That play right there where he throws the interception would have been a perfect spot to get him the ball.
Totally agree.
So we go to our second key play. Our second key play is going to be the 1st and 25 on the next drive, where we just decide to have Antoine Delorier covering a scat back in the slot, and we go from 1st and 25 to 1st and 10. An example of Duke shooting themselves in the foot and us deciding to drive them to the hospital.
Yep.
The next drive, the next one we're going to talk about is the Jonte fumble, which was just the weirdest play of all time. Ricky makes a nice pass, Jonte makes a really nice catch, and as he's trying to get down, he's not a defenseless guy, even though he's trying to go down, and they just pop him in the head, and apparently that's not unnecessary roughness or targeting or anything. It's just legal to hold guys up and try to break their necks.
Shocking overturn. I mean, these calls don't go our way in the ACC. It's been seasons of this stuff. I couldn't believe it when it happened. It was insane, but it's not the most shocking thing when it's Syracuse football, to be candid. We don't get a lot of these breaks, and this was obviously the game-breaking play, right? Like, once this happened, we're driving down to try and tie the game. It obviously turns into a turnover. Duke scores in like 3 plays here right away. Run, pass, touchdown. Game is pretty much broken open. We're down 2 touchdowns with a guy making his first start. It unravels immediately from here. So this is probably the biggest play of the game individually. But ultimately, like, in the grand scheme of things, Duke was going to win this game either way. This just obviously was a huge swing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't going to stop anybody, so that's fair. No. But how many times does the ACC have to piss on our face before we say, like, this can't continue? I'm already pre-mad because this is football season. We're, like, supposed to maybe help give us a call against Duke in football season, because we know when we get to basketball, they're going to get every fucking call. the ACC doesn't respect us. They don't care about Syracuse. We're an afterthought of a school to them. The conference just they hate us. Like, let's be honest. They have no respect for us. They don't care. They don't want us to compete. They don't want us to be a big brand within their conference. They want Duke to win. They want Clemson to win. When we beat Clemson on the road, they're going to fine us. I hate the ACC.
I'm with you, dude. I think that's a pretty astute rant there. I don't have
All
much.
right, so let's get into our 3 stars of the game. We had to dig down the lineup to get this. I'm actually going to get my wish here today, that's a little bit exciting. Let's start with star number 3. I think you actually tweeted this out from our account on X, and I think it was a great call. JRS, even towards the end, he was still trying. He was trying real hard in this game. He made that spectacular catch that ended up being out of bounds on 4th down, which was awesome. And JRS, I thought, actually, if we talk about the receivers weren't bad. Jonte was bad. The rest of the receivers weren't bad. We had an Emmanuel Ross sighting. He had a couple catches. Like, overall, that position group, again, I'm not gonna. Well, we do have to lay the blame because of Jonte, but JRS was good. So JRS gets the 3rd star. He's been really good for us all season. He did have an OPI.
Yeah, at the end of the game, but again, he was still playing. I have just appreciated that he was being competitive at the end of the game. There wasn't a lot of Syracuse guys, frankly, playing until the final whistle yesterday, which honestly was a little bit disappointing. But JRS was not one of those guys. I know the numbers don't bear it out, but he drew a couple penalties on the outside, I believe. Like, he was fighting out there trying to make plays for Ricky till the final whistle. I respect that. And that's what a leader does. That's what a senior leader does on a football team, even when you're getting, frankly, you're just getting bashed to bits here yesterday. He continued to show up, and I respect that quite a bit, to be honest with you. So I appreciated his effort. And to your point, Emmanuel Ross, nice little sighting at 5 catches late in the game. Like, he's a guy we were excited about. Looked like he was going to pop. Obviously, he's been hurt pretty much until now. Would be nice to see him work his way into the mix a little bit.
Yep. So next, again, we didn't have a lot to choose from here, so we went with the kicker, Trip Woody. He was 1 for 1. It was a 30-yard field goal, so you're supposed to make those. But in terms of executing what you're supposed to do, he executed what he was supposed to do. He went in and he made a field goal.
He made it. It looks like a pretty reliable kicker there for us. Not a ton to add. He came in, did his job.
In a day when everything went wrong, that didn't go wrong.
Right, exactly.
And then finally, number 1 star, again, there's very little to choose from, but our guy Stonehouse, who we think's excellent, he's our number 1 star in this game. He had 5 punts for 237 yards, 50 yards a punt, as opposed to the Duke punter who had 4 punts for 156 yards and only averaged 39 yards a punt. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Your punter's giving you 10 yards of field position over the other punter every game pretty much, and 50 yards is flipping the field. He had a 56-yard punt in this game, and he had 1 inside the 20. Overall, like, you're doing a pretty good job if you're our punter and you're flipping the field like this. And again, we didn't have a lot of other guys to choose from, so Stonehouse is going to get the number 1 star.
Totally. I mean, this is an NFL punter. I mean, Stonehouse is an NFL punter for sure. And
I think he's one of the best in the nation.
He might be the best in the nation, honestly. I wish we didn't have to use him quite as much yesterday, that's for sure. But, I mean, look, Jack's addicted to hang time, man. That ball's in here forever. Like, there's no returns against him.
Yeah, no returns against him.
No returns, no yardage. Like, that ball gets in the air. It's 50 yards downfield, fair catch every time. It's clockwork. And for a unit that was a mess last year, our punt coverage has actually been very good all season.
Credit to Brumfield, who I don't know if he made the decision to put Hart out there on kick returns. That feels to me like a Fran thing, to be honest with you. But we can see. But Brumfield, I think, has been, we're obviously shouting out the kicker and the punter right now as our stars. And in a day where everything went wrong, we didn't get a punt blocked. We made a kick. Our kickoffs were all touchbacks. They didn't return one kickoff. So, overall, I will say, like, you ask your team to come out and execute, and we're saying a lot of the team didn't execute. Special teams outside of the kick returns, which seemed like a lot of selfish decision and poor decision making by Hart, to be honest with you, was really good. I mean, even on his second kick return, I believe the up man is telling him not to return the ball, but he
And he
returns it
still comes
anyway.
out.
So,
Yeah.
Overall, the special teams, I thought they did execute somewhat. Again, Kerr on the punt return, catching it at the 5. Didn't love that, but overall, Kerr's been really solid back there, and he didn't fumble it or anything. So overall, the special teams somewhat executed in a day when nothing else was working.
Yeah, aside from the kick returns, which I'm still befuddled by. But yeah, overall, I Coach Brumfield has done a good job. We don't have major gaffes anymore. I mean, last year we were giving away points on special teams almost on a weekly basis, and that certainly has turned into a strength for this football team. Even with the kick return stuff yesterday, I am confident that will get fixed. You cannot have that happen week to week. Although I couldn't believe it happens multiple times yesterday. And
yeah, I mean, he looked lost on all the kickoffs, and you said it right away, get him out of there. And I couldn't believe he did that. He played the whole game there. There has to be an adjustment for him returning kicks. I mean, Kerr should be returning kicks the way he returns punts. I know he had the one fair catch. It wasn't great, but besides that, he's been really safe back there, and he's been making good decisions besides that one kind of gaff.
Totally.
All right. So we're at the media availability part of the roundup. Obviously, we've had a lot of frustration today, and we're not going to disagree with Fran when it comes to his assessment that he was completely outcoached and outclassed today. But we do want to start off with it's one game. It is one game, and you can't get too high against Clemson. You can't get too low now against Duke. And it is about how you respond next week versus SMU. It's a good team. We should turn the page and we should move on to next week. We're going to have to criticize Fran a little more here, but the most important thing and something that we don't criticize with Fran is the culture of this team and how we respond to moments like this, because he's given us a lot of evidence. I think the Pitt game last year is a perfect example of this. The Pitt game happens, then we have Va Tech, I believe, was our next game. And when it looked like that season could get away from us, we just don't let it happen, because Fran builds a great culture of guys who want to compete, guys who aren't going to give up, and guys who are going to keep playing. So let's see how the rest of this goes, and the rest of the season goes before we, get too crazy about this blaming this and blaming that, because I do respect what Fran has built, and I do respect Fran as a competitor, and I do think that Fran is going to get this ship righted, and I think he's going to do it right away next week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on this overall. Look, it's a week-to-week sport, right? And I think we're delusional to think that there weren't going to be some hiccups with the new quarterback and some of the transition. I think most disappointing for us is, frankly, everything else around that was a mess, right? And that's all stuff that can be cleaned up week to week. And I think, to your point, Fran's done a good job in this era, in the times where he's had to motivate the boys and get them ready to play and use a bad performance as a rallying tool. We've done that. I mean, the Va Tech game, the first half was ugly, but we turned it on late in that game and frankly turned the season at that point, right? Or we saved our season there. And so I think there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on here at SMU this week. This is not going to be an easy game. SMU's a good team. They can score. Jennings is a good player. Like, this is going to be another big test for the defense, and we need to see some improvement there. But I think the big takeaway and what the fan base needs to keep an eye on for next week is week-to-week improvement, right? We need to see things get fixed. We need to see things improve from the defense in terms of organization, execution, offense, keeping Ricky in better spots, getting the big fellow the ball. Keep it simple, week-to-week improvements that we can track, and obviously, just make sure that this thing isn't getting off the rails, right? And I think if things don't improve, then I think that obviously the criticism is warranted, right? I think this was not good. And the fan base, I think, is sensitive because we all went through the Dino Babers era, right? And we've seen when an injury early in the season can just knock us off the rails off of what looked like a promising 4 or 5 games. And I think fans are sensitive to that, right? And I think we can't get too high or low, but if this continues for 3, 4, 5 weeks and we just look inept again, it's just going to be a long season, man. It is. And so I think that's the big thing. We got to see week to week improvement. And I think we all have trust in Fran to do that, right? But we want to see it this week. And I think we will see it this week at SMU.
And we'll get critical. We'll get more critical if that happens, right? We know that. We're not gonna sugarcoat it when it comes to what's bad and what's not good. But we just think it's more appropriate, I think, in this moment to not put our foot 100% on the pedal of this is a disaster. This is the worst thing ever. It's one game, a 1-point loss and a 35-point loss count the same, right? Now, one of the things that I do want to focus on as we get to the media availability is, as you said, right? Let's focus on the things that need to get better, that aren't just isolated to this game, but that have been problems and reared their head in this game.
Yeah.
So I want to first give credit where credit is due, because we're gonna be pretty harsh here, I think. And the first thing is, we talked a lot about tackling and where was the mob mentality that we had in the Tony White defense and where did that go? And I think that is something that has improved and improved dramatically throughout the season. And it's improved because I think Fran put a focus on tackling after the first game. And it wasn't our missed tackling here that was the problem. And the one thing I'll say is, it seems to me like there are two guys out there who, every time I'm watching the defense play and we make a tackle, if they're not the ones making the tackle, they are around the ball. And that's 5 and 23. Delorier and Grant. Every time there's a tackle, one of those two is around the ball to either wrap it up and make the tackle or be there to support in case that guy doesn't wrap it up. And that's something we've seen improvement on. Now, what's an area that has not improved, and this goes all the way back to last year, it's what you were saying. It's the organization. It's getting lined up. Teams that run any kind of tempo against us, they just go. And they get the first down on 3rd and 5, and then it's a 50-yard touchdown.
It's a buffet. They get whatever they want if they run any tempo. They go up, they get up to the line, they move, they run whatever play. And honestly, every team should get a first down, no tempo, outside run. You're untouched for 15 yards against us every time you run it.
We'll get to the outside run.
We've watched every team do this against us. Every single one this year has done this against us. And we are
We'll get to the outside run tab, but before we go, there was that 4th down, I don't know if you remember, where we're subbing guys off in the middle of play, and then we're just not lined up ready to play on a 4th and 1. And I get that you want to sub because they sub, so they're holding it. And I do think the ref fucked us there. He didn't really let us get lined up. He kind of let them go quick. But that's an example of, that was a big 4th down, and we've talked about it. We like rotating our defensive linemen. Why is Perry not in the game? He's been excellent the last 2 games, and you're subbing guys off and you're putting Hastings in?
It just made no sense. And Perry had been productive earlier in that drive and had been out for a few plays already when I didn't agree with that either. It's just befuddling. And that 4th down too, I know exactly what play you're talking about. I think it was the Mensa ended up keeping it around the right edge.
He handed it off to the running back.
He did hand it off to the running back. There was another one where there was the fake reverse, and then I think that play would have gone for 25 yards if they handed that ball to the reverse. They got it easily anyway. But, I mean, anything they ran against us worked. It's just, we got to be more organized. The lining up thing is inexcusable. We're 5 weeks into the season now. It's 17, 18 games into the era. How can we never line up? We are never, ever lined up on time. And it's you're looking around football. I don't see other teams have this issue like we have this issue.
Not constantly like we do. And here's my thing too, is we just talked about 2 different 4th downs and we were confused over which one because they were both so fucking easy. And those were their 2 4th downs that they converted. And the first one that I'm talking about, they just run the ball right up the middle.
Yeah.
Right? It's 4th and 2 and they run the ball up the middle.
There was 2 on that drive. That was the first one. Yeah.
Right. They run the ball right up the middle. And we were talking about, we can't stop the outside run for save our life. We can't stop the inside run either, dude. So and then you're talking about the next 4th down, which is a great point that, listen, they ran a play where they had 3 different misdirections happening and Mensa ended up just taking it himself, but he could have handed it off to the reverse guy who was coming around. That was probably a touchdown. He could have thrown it down the field for a first down because there was a guy wide open who was just not covered, and then he ran it himself for a first down. So they had the first down any which way that play was designed to go. And it's another example of just the scheme wasn't good. We didn't take anything away.
Nothing away. It's just, yeah, it's befuddling on that end of the football. I'm not sure what's so difficult to fix about some of the organization stuff. Like, are we having issues with the play calls? But it seems like, I mean, like the players seem to have issues getting the plays received, right? Like, how many times do you see guys yelling at the sideline or like acting like they don't know what the play call is?
And we saw that all the time last year with Marlowe and Justin Barron. So it's not just like over a young defense. We can blame it on the players being young and inexperienced.
He couldn't figure it out.
I mean, then we saw Marlowe very many times last year be visibly frustrated at not knowing what the play was clearly, and then us just giving up a big play. So that's something that has existed, that has been a problem, and it clearly hasn't gotten better. And then the other thing is, even when we do get the play in, sometimes these plays are befuddling. Like one of my favorite plays, and we'll talk about it when we watch the film. Like there was a 3rd and 9 in the red zone where they have the running back on the left side, which means if they're going to run the ball with the running back, the quarterback's here on the left side. If they're going to run the ball, they're going to run it to the right. Mensah is not a running threat. He doesn't really like to run, right? So you're either going to hand that ball off and run it to the right, or you're going to throw it and all the receivers are out to the right. We have like 7 guys on the left side of the offensive line, and then they decide to move the running back out to the right. So the running back starts to move before they snap the ball, and Brahim Long, who's all the way on the other side of the field, is trying to track him, and it's one-on-one with Brahim Long and the running back having like a 6-yard head start out to the right, and there's no adjustment. And we have a double mug. We're showing obvious middle pressure. We show the middle pressure. Mensah scoots the running back out to the side and just immediately throws the ball to the side. The pressure's never getting there.
It's a college football 25 defense, dude, or 26, whatever version of the game we're in. It's literally like a video game defense. Like it's a double mug pressure. It's the most obvious we're bringing middle pressure look ever, right? And like we do it all the time. Everybody is ready for this in our tape, and like it was just like a free play. Like it's just.
But if we can identify that, so can Mensah.
100%, dude. Like we don't confuse anybody on that end of the ball. Like it just like it was such an obvious find somebody hot, put a guy in motion, get him in space, let him make a guy miss, and like that's what it was, And
even if we and here's my thing is, even if we don't bring pressure and those guys drop out because they have everybody on one side of the field, those guys are not Delorier and Bryant are not getting over to that side of the field. They can cover the middle as they drop back, but they're not getting to that side of the field. So you have 3-on-3 for the Duke offense out to the side. Plus you have us having Brahim Long trailing a guy because he's on the wrong side to begin with. And you have Devin Grant, who's also on the wrong side to begin with. So you don't have your best player who should be out there to hit somebody when they make this play. He's also on the wrong side of the ball. So now you've just put you've put your defenders in a terrible position.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
Where's the criticism for E-Rob from Fran?
I mean, I think it's just got to come at some point, right? Like we've got to have an honest conversation about what side of the ball has carried this team for a year and a half now, right? And I think as soon as we have not basically received elite quarterback play, we look like a mess, right? It goes back to the Pitt game last year. Obviously, we've had a couple just like obviously new guys this year. Like when we don't have that position, frankly, carrying us and scoring a lot, we are in trouble. Like, and I don't know how much longer we can continue to just ignore that the defense has not been good for a year and a half. It's been bad, and we are easy to move the ball against, and particularly in the running game. Like, I know it's something we talked about all offseason. There were some absolutely embarrassing showings last year from that defense. Like that BC game was as insulting of a performance as a team can give to you, like in a football game context. Like just hand the ball off and we are going to dominate you.
With a backup quarterback. Right? BC did exactly what we would have wanted us to do with Ricky, which is just like protect their backup quarterback, have him make easy throws and run the ball. And they did that, by the way, when they were down in the second half. So don't tell me about game flow this and game flow that, and it got away from us.
Our performance today kind of resembled that game, right? It's just we weren't competitive at all really on offense either, but that BC game last year, I remember us watching. First off, we couldn't tackle at all, but how many times in that game were there guys just untouched through the hole at like 8-9 yards before they even meet a Syracuse defender? I swear, I'd love to. I need to dig into some of the stats on this game. I would guess Shepard had a ton of yards before contact in this
Yep.
game. Like,
I would agree.
I don't think he was touched on half of his runs before 8-9 yards downfield. Like, we were nowhere to be found.
I mean, on his 50-yard touchdown run, he wasn't touched at all, so he at least has that.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, like you said, I think it was a really great point. If we didn't get elite quarterback play from Kyle last year, there was a lot of games where we would have lost. And the games where we didn't get elite play from Kyle, we did lose, right? So, like, the Pitt game, and the Pitt game was a disaster. That happens. Narduzzi punked us, and credit to Narduzzi. He's a great coach. He's a great defensive coach. He had Kyle seeing ghosts, and that's going to happen. So I'm going to throw the Pitt game away for a second. But let's go back to the Stanford game. Kyle didn't play great. He didn't have his moments. He threw a couple of tough interceptions, but that's a game where you're playing inferior competition. Where was your defense to help him in that one? What did we talk about all offseason?
Right.
4th and 9. We talked about it all offseason. 4th and 9. You want to know why? Because we couldn't identify that the NFL wide receiver, the one NFL player on Stanford, was the guy we should cover on 4th and 9.
Right.
We literally left Lewis, who was solid, but we left him out there one-on-one against their best receiver, 4th and game. We knew exactly where they were going, and we left him one-on-one against that guy.
Totally.
It's just like these are some of the things that are just like befuddling on defense. Like I talked about it earlier, but the Barkgate 1st down, 3rd and 5 on, I think it was the play right before Shepard runs in the touchdown. You get a stop there, that's big. But what do? You have Kerr lined up 20 yards off. Kerr, you look at the picture. Kerr is not even in the picture.
It's a free 1st down.
If they just threw the ball right away, if Barkgate just turned around, stood there, and threw it, and then ran, he would have had the 1st down. They made it harder by running a 15-yard route, and we still didn't do anything to stop it.
Yeah, I guess we thought maybe dropping Tremble into the flat there was going to do anything, but he had to go a long way to take that away. It was nothing.
Because, again, he's mispositioned if you're going to drop him there, right? He's way too far inside. It's that double mug we're talking about.
Yeah, he's inside, and then I think you called it out, too, is Reese is, on a spy on that play, too. It's just,
But it didn't matter because Mensa didn't even need to take 2 seconds to throw the ball because Barkate's wide the fuck open.
Wide open. He's wide open.
And Tremble, Tremble, that's a great example. It's a great point. Tremble, it should be in the rush passer. If he's not, I get it because if he's a tight end, he's got ball skills. You can put him out in coverage. I actually don't think that's a terrible idea sometimes putting Tremble out in coverage is like a big guy who's fast with ball skills, right? Like all that makes sense. But if you're going to put him in coverage and you're doing this fake pressure where he's so far on the outside that you're not really worried about him coming as pressure, and then you're going to drop him, like he's not doing anything on that play. He doesn't give you anything. Even if
great, you're preaching to the choir here. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I really don't.
It's just there's so many frustrating things it's easy to say, and you could even criticize us for saying like, hey, you're doing this, 2020 hindsight. But if you're sitting there watching the game with us, these are things we're calling each other about in the middle of the game. Like, what are we doing on this play?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, it just feels like there was almost no scouting preparation for this game, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. It was like, we have no idea. The Duke running back seemed to be a mystery to us in full.
Who, by the way, he was a freshman who hadn't played, who they said we have to try to get him the ball before the game. They said it.
And then Barkett, I mean, every time they looked for a big 3rd down early in the game, I mean, or any big play early in the game, they were going to him, and we weren't ready for it. It's just frustrating.
And then they threw to the other guy, Hagens. I mean, they threw to him more later as the game got away from us.
He was open. It did.
But they threw him. That was that play where we get a good stop on 1st down, so it's 2nd and 13, and then they run a 7-yard run to get it to 3rd and 6, and then 3rd and 6 they run a screen, and that is just emblematic of our defense. Like we do a good job, we get a stop on the obvious play that's coming, and then we're not ready for another run on 2nd and 13, and then we're not ready for a screen on 3rd and 6, and it's like Duke had the easiest way to get out of it. first and 25, and it's Antoine one-on-one against a scat back. It's just like there's so many things that are just so confusing that we're just never lined up. We're never in the right position. We never have the right play calls.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch, and it just feels like so much of this stuff should be correctable, right? I think that's what's so frustrating to us is it feels like other teams can do these things. Like we have talent. It's not like we have no talent out there. We're not prepared and we're not executing. It's a frustrating watch on that side of the ball.
But there are some things that if they were happening, we could forgive. Like personally, I forgave Demetrius Samuel for a couple of the plays in the Tennessee game where the safeties bite up and he gets beat long. He's expecting inside help, but he also should run with that guy. And also the pass interference on like his first play in college where he actually has a chance. He gets a little too hyped and he goes crazy and hits a guy. Those things I can forgive. If those are the mistakes we're making where we're like over competing and we're young and Peel's jumping a route and missing it and they're getting stuff, like that's the kind of stuff I can forgive. But that's not what's happening. We're putting those guys in terrible positions.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have much else. I mean, Ricky took the arrows yesterday in his press conference. I think he said a lot of the right things, but what are you expecting that kid to say? He didn't play very well and he didn't really get much help, but he didn't blame anybody.
I felt bad for him yesterday. Obviously, it didn't go the way he wanted. It didn't play well. The team didn't play well. It hurts, man. It hurts because it felt like obviously a lot of momentum from the Clemson game. We didn't use any of that this week. It felt like honestly like we were pretty into ourselves this week. It sort of felt like our maybe spent a little bit too much time on the press tour this week and not enough time looking at Duke tape. And I think we'll learn from that.
Yeah, I mean the don't get too high, don't get too low comes off hollow when you're doing every show in America.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is important for him to do that for the program. So I don't really knock it. It's just you can't come out and look like that after doing that though. It just is what it is. So
and you know what, I give him a
turnaround this week.
And I give him a lot of credit for taking it on the chin, Fran.
Yeah.
And he took it on the chin like he should have, and he always does, and we respect Fran for that. And the hallmark of a good program is now how we respond. And so we've just spent 15 minutes killing them. Before we log off here, I want to put it out there. I believe in Fran. I believe 100% in Fran. I'm totally behind Fran. I love 90 to 85 to 90% of the stuff that Fran does. What I'm not loving right now is on the defensive side of the ball, never being prepared, and some of the in-game, it's not even really in-game because actually in-game I think he does a good job, but it's some of the pre-game scouting that just doesn't seem like we're doing a good enough job doing. I don't know what we need to do to correct it, whether we need to bring somebody in with more experience who can maybe help us with game planning, pre-game, and understanding what we need to take away from the other team. But overall, again, I really do believe Fran is going to get us ready to go. We're going to be put in a much better position, and we're going to grow from this loss next week. And we're going to go out there. We're going to compete versus SMU. And if we lose because Ricky isn't good enough, or we're young and we're inexperienced, I can get that. But next week, I don't want to be outcoached.
I couldn't agree with you more. We love Fran. We love what he stands for, the program leader that he is, what he represents for the university. I think, right, there's just things that, and this is part of the process with Fran, right? Like, we didn't hire a super experienced coach, right? Like, some of the game planning, the X's and O's stuff, like, that's going to be a work in progress with him, right? And I think
he's going to get better.
He will get better at this, right? I just, like we said, we expect improvement this week. I think he's going to get the boys ready to play. This is the sort of situation he's used to his advantage to be able to use as a rallying, motivating tool, or motivational tool, I should say. I think the boys are going to come out harder next week, but we have a lot we got to clean up between the lines. That's for sure.
And we talked a lot about the defense, but quickly on the offense, and this is just something I've been harping on it all season. We've been harping on it all season. We both have been harping on this all season, and I don't want to hear one more press conference with the words, "We need to get Willis the ball."
No.
We have a backup quarterback in for the rest of the season. There's no reason that Willis shouldn't be touching the ball unless he gets injured. There's no reason he shouldn't be touching the ball and running it at least 20 times a game, especially when he's averaging 6 yards a carry versus a defense that we know struggles to stop the run.
Totally. He needs the ball. It's very simple. I don't want to hear it again either.
All right. Like and subscribe. We're here with you. I hope that the Orange fans out there that are listening do feel the pain that we're feeling right now. And I hope in some way we helped you guys. If you guys have any comments, drop them on X, drop them on YouTube. In our next preview show, we're going to get into the preview for SMU that'll come out later this week. We're going to address any comments that you guys have, any questions. So if there's anything you want us to talk about, if there's anything you disagree with us on, or you want to, us to maybe touch on more, this is the place to drop them right under this YouTube show, on X, on TikTok, any of these places. You reach out to us and we'll do our best to, round up any questions or any thoughts that you guys have. So, if you're still listening, because if you dropped off like you did in the second half of this game, I get it. But if you're still here listening, thanks for listening. And hopefully we don't have too many more of these rough ones ahead of us.
Totally. We'll be back next week.